Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Monday, July 22nd edition of AZ Sportsbox, coming to you live with 4 less teeth. That's right, 4 less teeth. It is Henry Steiner, joined by...
Who's going first?
You never said we were doing this.
Parker Gray, Nicole Pinter, Caleb Bouchy, and special guest moderator, Troy Tauscher.
What's up?
Hello, everyone. Let's get right into the sports news for the day. We've got so much stuff, including debuts talking about boxing and WWE, all types of professional wrestling on this show. So without further ado, Caleb with the Brewers versus DBacks game.
Yeah, of course, the Diamondbacks just wrapped up their recent series against the Milwaukee Brewers, and their last game definitely wasn't the best one when it came to their performance. They lost the game 7-4. Brewers ended up beating them all games of the series, so it was a 4-0 sweep. What is everyone's thoughts on this series? Probably one of not the best ones when it comes to looking back on the series to the D-backs.
Well, the Brewers did give up one game. That was this past Friday, 10-7, according to ESPN. But
oh, really?
This is such a 500 team. I feel like every time we come back around to this week, they're at 500. Yeah. Like now they're 50-50. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think they're going to be any worse than that. I don't think they're going to be any better than that. I think they're just.
Don't you mean a 50-50 team?
I guess. I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. But they're just such a mediocre team. Like they're the most mediocre of all mediocre teams, and it's not a bad thing. But I mean, it's like I said, every time we come back around, they're somehow at 500 again, and yeah, they're 50-50.
Right now in the National League, right now they're second in the NL West, and 50-50, like being 500 might actually be good enough to get the wild card. So they're either I'd say that they're just as bad as they need to be and just as good as they need to be. They're not going to make any postseason waves, but they might have.
You never know. I mean, I think it's definitely still a possibility they can get there.
I think they can sneak in, yeah.
Yeah, they can sneak in, but the thing is, I don't think they would be able to win more than one game if they did, because that's just not the team it is. But, I mean, it's like frustrating because they have such moments where they're capable of so much. But then at other times, like I can totally see them dropping 2 out of 3 to the Orioles, which are probably the worst run organization in the MLB this year.
Not even close. Well, actually, no, I take that back.
Well, and speaking of the Orioles, that's going to be the next upcoming series for the Diamondbacks. So how do we think the D-backs are going to do against them? I mean, should it be an easy series or who knows?
As I said, I can honestly see them dropping 2 of the 3. Like I definitely think they're not going to sweep the Orioles. I think even though they're on home, and again they're versing the Orioles, I think they're on a skid right now, a little bit of skid. I think they're going to lose 2 out of the 3.
Well, and coming out, the Brewers are not as good as what we thought they were in the beginning of the season when they just came out on fire.
Yellish.
But to still lose to a pretty good Brewers team 3 out of 4 times. I mean, yeah, they got to win, but at the same time, like. Not the worst losses, but again, coming off of that type of series, like Henry said, if they lose 2 out of 3 these next games, I don't bat an eye.
I see them winning 2 of the 3. I don't see them losing 2 of the 3. I don't think that's possible. I mean, it is. It's just I don't see them on a skid either. They've been like holding their own, even though they've been losing to the Brewers, but it hasn't been really blowouts. Like, for example, first one, 5-1, that one was not good. Then they beat them 10-7. And then yesterday's game, 7-4. They were up 4-0, and then they gave up a grand slam and then 3 runs in the 8th inning. And from then on, they just couldn't score. So it's not their batting that's the problem. It's just they seem to give up too many runs. And I think that they'll be able to win 2 of the 3, though.
They also they had their pitcher that was, I think, he was perfect for his first 3 starts, 3 wins. And it was unfortunate that he wasn't able to get the win for that last game.
Mm-hmm. Troy, what do you think about this?
Well, I guess I should say, full disclosure, I'm an intern for the Diamondbacks right now. So in the interests of being honest, I think they can sweep the Orioles. I do think the point of their lineup is great and has shown, I think, that even though some of their guys hit some rough bumps, that the lineup can be really strong and that they can have a productive offense. But I think you just look at the bullpen especially, just seems like they had certain expectations that just haven't been met in that area from a lot of guys. And they're trying to fill those gaps and gap in their fifth starter with young players, some of whom are effective, but they've had some bad injury luck, like John Duplantier pitched well against the Dodgers, pretty soon was on the IL. Taylor Clark's finally back, but he started to get his legs under him in the majors, went to the IL. And then Alex Young, who pitched really well in his first couple starts, did give up that grand slam yesterday. I just think that's the area where they're trying to get by, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they can't. So we'll see. I think they can beat the Orioles because I think they can get ahead of the Orioles to the point that the bullpen doesn't have to, play at the top of its game to get them wins. But we'll see.
All right. Now, that's pretty much all that's to talk about for Arizona sports news. Unfortunately, it's been a very slow week, especially since it's summertime. So we're going to go outside the AC Sports Box now. And Nicole, why don't you start us off with our first outside the AC Sports Box topic?
Well, it's a pretty big one. NFL announced Friday that it could not conclude that Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill violated the league's personal conduct policy, and therefore he will not be suspended, which means he can attend training camp, which opens this Friday. And this comes off of the allegations that he, severely beat his child and his wife. There were also the thing that's most troubling to me, I'm just gonna jump right into it, is that, if they couldn't find evidence of this, so be it, I guess, for lack of a better word. But there is clear as day evidence. Like, he said this, like, these are tapes. And I think Mina Kimes, ESPN reporter, says it perfectly. So go to her Twitter. And she says it on a show with Stu Gatz and, oh my God, I can't think of his name. But she says it best, that he said it clear as day, you should be scared of me too, B word. And nothing for that. And even just today, what came out is Seattle Seahawks defensive tackle Jerron Reed. He's suspended for the first 6 games this season for violating the personal conduct policy. And this is a violation from a 2007 domestic violence case where he was not charged or arrested. So it's like, and then Zeke fights 6 games, last season or 2 seasons ago? So it's just troubling that the NFL still has this problem of not being able to be super consistent with who gets suspended, who isn't. And, Tyreek Hill's really good, so it's probably all going to blow over. But it's troubling. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's all depends on the caliber player he was. It's like the Ray Rice thing. If Ray Rice was the same quality player he was during the Super Bowl run, I don't think he would have gone suspended or cut or anything. It all depends on how the players play, and fortunately, Tyreek Hill is one of the most exciting players to watch in the league. And so it comes down to money, and the NFL thinks they're going to make more money keeping him on the field than taking him off. And honestly, they're right, because while they try and say it's such a big deal, make all these initiatives, there's still players like Greg Hardy, Ruben Foster, who still have these spots on these NFL teams. And it kind of shows, like, what is the message that's showing the kids that, like, hey, you can get away with domestic violence? Like,
or even like, it happened in college, so it doesn't count. Like with Joe Mixon. It happened in college, doesn't count.
And you know what? And the Chiefs are talking about making him again the highest paid wide receiver. They're already talking about extensions, and it's just something that the league has to do so much better, because like these players are role models. Like, I've seen so many videos of Pop Warner kids throwing up the peace sign as they run. That's from Tyreek Hill. Like, you burn someone, you look back, throw up a peace sign. That is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it was like Chris Collinsworth on Tyreek Hill's first Monday Night Football game mentioned the domestic violence allegations. And it was one of the greatest moments of sports commentators, for my opinion, because the booth went silent. You know that like all the analysts, like all the people in his ear were like yelling at him for it. But he took a stand, he said it, and for a while they just let it hang in there on national television. Honestly, that's what I think they have to do. Troy, if you go to the right and just wave your arm, there's a light switch on the side. But
What happened?
that's kind of
happens to me all
Power
the time.
went out.
And
The power has gone out in the Bill Austin studio. They forgot to pay.
yeah, I mean, it's a metaphor for what's happening with the NFL right now. The power has gone out, the lights are off, and so they think that anything can happen. But really, you
That's
have
so
to do
insightful.
whatever you can to get the lights back on.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, Henry, with the talent aspect, but then at the same time with Ezekiel Elliott, his suspension, that was like pretty much at that point
For the
from-
Mardi Gras thing, right?
Yeah, it was like almost the height of his popularity at that point. He was just getting more and more popular. I think it was just after his rookie season.
It was.
Then he was out for the first 6 games. And so obviously I feel like that's part of the reason that he wasn't suspended, Tyreek Hill, but it's just annoying the inconsistency in all these suspensions. It doesn't seem like there's much rhyme or reason to all of them.
I mean, if he was a quote unquote like a bench player, if he was a third string, he would be out of the league.
Oh,
There's zero doubt in my mind.
Oh.
Well, and it goes back to even another Kansas City Chiefs just last year,
Mhm.
Kareem Hunt,
Ford?
who didn't
Oh.
get in trouble. What'd you say?
D Ford, because he also has.
That
The
too.
Kansas City
But-
Chiefs they've
Yeah.
got very good quality players.
No, I'm just kidding.
And Mahomes is on Madden 20 cover, Madden curse, but whatever. But besides the point. But
Let's hope he doesn't go down that path.
true. But Kareem Hunt wasn't in trouble until he lied about these allegations, about his allegations of not necessarily domestic abuse, but maybe that's what it was called. I forget the exact words. But
But to be fair, though, he did not kick her. That was like a tiny shove with his foot. Like TMZ exaggerated that beyond
It
belief.
was exaggerated, but still wasn't right.
Yes, it was still not. I do not condone it.
Yeah.
Like it is still very bad, but that one was blown out of proportion.
Mhm.
Whereas
and the lady
something
should
like
not have said what she
Hill's,
said.
Tyreek Hill's, if you've seen the bruises, I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures.
I
That is some
personally have not.
That
And that's where I was gonna go. Is I personally haven't seen the pictures, so I can't really say, oh, he did it or he didn't. But like, remember, like you're saying, the picture's pretty bad. So there seems to be.
and again, it's not confirmed that it's from him. Like, it's
But-
not.
but
It's
still-
all alleged, but
I mean, I'm
the nuances in sports is what it is.
yeah, and I think just the point where I was going with it was that he still said you should be scared of me too, and so on, and that's like written. That's not opinion. It's written down. It's audio tapes. That's like, that should be enough to at least get something right. It's just it doesn't make sense. Like I said, Mina Kimes says it best. Go to her Twitter. She has a video of it. She was on the radio show with Dan Le Batard and Sue Gotts. I remembered. But she says it best.
Okay.
Go check it
Before
out.
we
Look at the link in.
conclude, Troy, do you have any thoughts on this?
Not really. I just think like you guys said a lot of the important stuff when it comes to Tyreek Hill, especially, and I think the league more than anything has just proven that the systems that it tries to put in place don't really mean that much. Like the idea with this kind of thing is that punishment should be consistent and make sense, and be a clear, straightforward process. And then some guys just argue their way out of the suspension. Some guys get suspended. You never know. So it's just kind of the problem the league has to fight.
Mhm.
Okay. Parker, let's transition into boxing now. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so Manny Pacquiao, he fought Keith Thurman, the two boxers, obviously, and then he handed him his first career professional loss. And up to this point, Manny Pacquiao, I believe, had these 42-7 in his career, whereas Keith Thurman was undefeated. And obviously, Manny Pacquiao is much older. Let's see, he's 40 years old.
Yep.
What do you guys think about this fight?
Well,
I mean-
I'll go first on this. I think Manny Pacquiao is definitely back in his prime, especially what was it the last time he fighted Floyd Mayweather? Everyone thought he was completely too old. It's time for him to retire. But this guy is definitely making a comeback. Now everyone wants to see a rematch between him and Floyd. Obviously, we'll save that for later. But yeah, I think Pacquiao is making a comeback when it comes to being in his prime.
Some slight facts discrepancies there. I think Pacquiao's fought in like 4 fights since Floyd. Yeah, he's lost some of them. I think there was the Joe Horn which was very controversial decision, and he's won a few. But yeah, this
Controversial decisions. I've heard that a lot in the sport of boxing.
It was probably the most blatant wrong decision I've ever seen in boxing. It was, I think, a Manny Pacquiao fight from like 6 months ago or 7 months ago. If you guys haven't figured it out, look it up.
No, that's nothing compared. I can name like another fight that was worse when it came to judging decisions, but
well, that should be a conversation for another time. But
okay.
Yeah, the fight was actually really good. Thurman is a boxer who's like very keenly in his prime, and Pacquiao is very much past his prime, but he can still go. He showed the fight did go to the distance, and Pacquiao in the first round had an amazing knockdown. Just like it looked like it kind of shocked Thurman, but at the end you could see it was all respect. Thurman's going up against a guy that he kind of idolized growing up, and you can really see that there was such a mutual respect there. And it was a very hard fought fight. But Pacquiao took some punches. He went down. There was a jab, I think it was in the second or third round, that was just like, I even winced. I'm like, I don't know if I would get it from that. And so for a 40-year-old man who is, I'm pretty sure, still a very much a government figure in his home country.
Oh yes,
like a governor or like a,
Senator.
but whatever. He got up. So all I'm saying is, I think you should vote in that country, because I would be scared to see what he would do if you didn't. Like, absolutely. And like, it was actually a really fun boxing match from what I had seen.
And I just want to make a correction real quick. His professional record is actually 62-7-2 in 72 fights.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion on this topic before we move on?
All right. Well, I guess we're going on to the next topic, which is Team USA basketball has had a bunch of players that have been just basically withdrawing from all 2019 FIBA World Cups. So far, only 14 total players remain. I think over 7 have withdrawn, including such names as Zion Williamson, the number 1 overall pick, Bradley Beal, Tobias Harris, James Harden, Eric Gordon, and CJ McCollum. I think as well as LeBron James have all withdrawn from consideration for the FIBA 2019 World Cup for the U.S. These are due to a lot of different reasons, such as a new contract possibility, trying to get used to a new team.
Space Jam 2.
What?
Space Jam 2.
Yeah, Space Jam 2. But it's very interesting to see because the FIBA World Cup landscape is going to be very different. Giannis is obviously on the Greek team, but the U.S. team is taking a major hit. Right now, there are 14 players on it, including P.J. Tucker, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Paul Millsap, Brooke Lopez, Miles Turner, Harrison Barnes. I mean, these guys aren't scrubs by any means, but they're not the premier players that you'd expect. So far, the biggest names on the list that have been confirmed are Kemba Walker and Chris Middleton. And so it's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of team Celtics players, actually, that have been considered being called up, which is one of the first times this has ever really happened, such as Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, the GOAT. But yeah, it's very interesting to see what's happening. What do you guys think of this? Like, do you think it's a problem that all these players are withdrawing for the FIBA World Cup? Like, this is USA's team, and it's looking a lot weaker than it has I think, since we've all been born.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a problem for America? Maybe. Is it a problem for me? No, because when the USA has all their guys, FIBA and the Olympics are really boring.
I
That's
agree.
my
That's
opinion.
very true. It's always
So-
constantly USA.
So if it's like, is it bad for the U.S. team? Maybe. I still think they're fine, but it might make it more interesting than. I mean, when they get their top guys, they just destroy everyone because, like, other nations like Greece are lucky if they get one like good NBA player, maybe two.
Well,
The
right now
U.S.
they have
is
the
like
best NBA player.
what?
Right now they have the best NBA player.
Yeah, but the U.S. has like 12 NBA starters usually or something, and it's just like not even a competition.
14.
So, yeah, I'm saying like 12 of the
Or
guys on the team are like starters on their NBA teams. And so it just like doesn't matter. So maybe it'll actually be competitive.
I mean, I could definitely see that. Right now there's I think only 4 All-Stars left on the roster. Let's see, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Middleton, Kyle Lowry, Damian Lillard, Kemba Walker. Those are the only All-Stars that are right now remaining. So for the U.S. team, and who knows, more can withdraw. Zion Williamson literally withdrew today. I think Beal also had withdrawn today, amid speculation that he's going to get a 3-year max contract almost immediately.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the depth chart does
not.
not look bad at all. Like, it's not all stars, but it's a lot of good, relatively big name players still. So I don't think they're like completely depleted of all talent. Like, there's no hope whatsoever. But I mean, I would say it's a combination of say they were to make it to the championship game, it'd be like less than a month away from preseason, which doesn't matter that much, but a lot of these guys are on new teams, like you said. So I think getting used to that is big. I mean, the Olympics are next year. Space Jam 2 is filming.
Is this really a problem, though? Is the Space Jam 2 really interfering with this?
I mean,
I wouldn't. I'm mostly joking, but like,
if you take away,
Well,
one of the
they're
best
doing
players in the
production
world,
over the summer.
possibly the greatest player of all time, that's a
I mean,
big
there's
deal.
a couple big name players in that. Like, yeah, they're
I
gonna.
think Anthony
film it.
Davis has been confirmed for that.
Yeah,
LeBron James.
obviously. So it's like, I mean, I say that kiddingly, but like, I'm not joking all the way.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think there's a saying like every joke has a little bit of truth behind it, and so yeah, I can kind of see that. Like you mentioned it, I laughed, but I can definitely see if just Anthony Davis and LeBron James miss it because of Space Jam 2, that's two of two top 5 players in the NBA, top 5 players in the world who are now no longer playing in the World Cup because of Space Jam.
So they're ditching the World Cup for Bugs Bunny. That's an interesting decision.
Seems reasonable. I don't know.
I mean, I'm more of a Daffy Duck guy myself, but
Okay. Henry, let's move on to our next topic that I'm sure a lot of us know a lot about. Want to get
this is a little bit of sarcasm, but WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, topic that we have not touched on a lot, but since we have our special guest moderator Troy here, today, Monday, the 22nd July, is a special edition of Raw called the Raw Reunion Show. So they're bringing back. It's honestly it was a last minute change by the USA Today network that they were not liking how ratings were going, and so they kind of asked WWE, "Hey, why don't you bring in a bunch of old Ruthless Aggression and Attitude Era guys?" Which, first of all, doesn't really make sense because they just changed their target demographic to 18 to 25-year-olds who probably weren't really around during most of these stars' heydays. But you know what? If it's a chance to bring back Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, I'm all for it. So, guys, what do you think? And then Troy, obviously, I'd like to hear your input on this.
Well, I mean, it was the Attitude Era was a long time ago. I think
90s.
WWE has plans to not even
2000s.
return to that point. Wait, were you going to say something?
I was just saying the time period. It was like the 90s to the 2000s, like 1996 through 2002, 2003.
And I believe that was back when Monday Night Raw was on, TNN, which is now known as the Paramount Network. So yeah, but USA Network, which broadcast Raw now, I think they definitely are trying to push it for more that a little bit of edgy, but not like way over the edge of Monday Night Raw. They're losing SmackDown, so soon Raw is going to be the only WWE program on USA this fall.
I don't think that I don't think it's actually the network that's pushing it. I think that's WWE who wants it because of again, as we'll talk about.
Well, didn't you say they're pushing it because of ratings? You said they were pushing it because of ratings. I thought
you mean the Raw reunion. They push for this Raw reunion to get a good episode in. Or an episode. A good episode is a stretch. An episode that gets better ratings.
Yes.
I have no idea
if this episode does get better ratings, could we see the WWE keep going in this direction though? It's kind of like a test format, I think it could be.
I don't think they're gonna bring back veterans every single week. I feel like that would
make it more edgy.
That's not what's happening right now. They're two very different things that are happening. It's just a coincidence that this is happening now. They're changing the demographic, but they've been slowly trying to build towards more edgy with Kofi Kingston giving the middle finger to Samoa Joe. The whole opening of Raw, I think, was like 2 weeks ago with Corey Graves dropping holy shit. And so they're trying to move towards that with AEW. I think they're trying to kind of take back a lot of that demographic, but I don't really think the Raw reunion show and that have anything in common.
We'll see.
I think that those are just two events that are happening at the same time.
And also, I want to say this. I haven't watched WWE in a while. I'm trying to catch up. I'm like 2 years behind on pay-per-views. But I love the fact that they brought in, what was it, like a PG version of the Hardcore Championship. It's like the 24/7 title. Yes. I'm not sure if it's still around.
Yeah, we'll talk about the 24/7 Championship a little bit later because that is probably the best thing on all of WWE programming.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad they brought that back. But Troy, what are your thoughts about this on the reunion show?
I mean, it's funny timing because they basically did this like a year and a half ago with Raw, the 25th anniversary of Raw, which
the revival,
which had some cool things on it, but and I get it, like it wasn't a good episode of Raw, strictly speaking, but it was a fun celebration. Like you know, it was like what's it called? It's like the clip shows, you know, when you have a sitcom that's been running for a long time and you do one episode that's just like, here's everything funny we've ever done in the last 10 seasons or whatever. It was the same kind of thing. Is it a good episode? Not really. Stupid lights. But
Undertaker's gong hits. He turns up behind you.
Undertaker's
right why it's there.
But yeah, I think like it's a way just to get through. There are up and down times with WWE programming. Like, around Christmas things get a little bit slow, and then in the middle of like the summer things get a little bit slow because there's that gap between WrestleMania and SummerSlam. And I think this is just a way to get an episode in that kind of bridges that gap, maybe builds up an angle for SummerSlam since it's coming up in August. I totally get it. I'm not like waiting with bated breath at every, person that reappears. But I think like, hey, why not have a little bit of fun with some nostalgia once in a while? I don't think it's like a sign of like a failure of the company or something because they want to bring back Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels and whatever for a day just to get people to pay attention.
Yeah, and while Troy goes and turns on the lights, I would definitely agree to that. And it's going to be really interesting to see with the 24/7 Championship. Of course, it is the modernization, the PG era version of the Hardcore Championship. I feel like there could be a lot of shenanigans, such as like stuff with Santino Marella. Santino Marella, I could definitely see winning the 24/7 Championship, or even the Cobra or something with Mr. Sacco versus the Cobra winning the 24/7 Championship.
Oh my God!
I heard that and immediately sighed, so I know that that's a great idea. Book it now, WWE. But I feel like there's a lot of things that they're doing. Like, I think it would be great, especially if they go the opposite route that they did during Raw 25. Because Raw 25, it kind of seemed like they just buried the new talent, like the revival. So they kind of do that each time they bring someone back. They kind of end up burying someone else. Burying, for those who don't know, is like a term for kind of like diminishing or like kind of
making you look like an idiot.
Yeah, making them look like an idiot.
But one thing I did like that they do at Raw 25, I heard they did this, is they did it from 2 venues, the Barclays Center, and then, of course, the Manhattan Center, which is where Raw originated.
Now, see, that's hilarious because everyone bought tickets to the Manhattan Center, and basically nothing happened in the Manhattan Center but the Undertaker showing up. Like, most of the show didn't happen in the Manhattan Center, which I thought was funny because all these, like, stuck-up people who, like, you kids don't know about Raw 25 years ago, they all went back there and basically just got trapped together with nothing to do while everyone else had fun at Raw and Barclays. I thought that was a hilarious little, like, little screw you to the annoying segment of the fan base. That's just my opinion. I as a wrestling fan take a lot of pride in seeing, like, annoying wrestling fans kind
getting
of
trolled.
Yes. I very much support, like, pettiness. I think it's funny.
Well, if you support pettiness, then WWE is definitely the product for you. There's a lot of interesting storylines also going in, specifically with Kevin Owens kind of being seen as the new Stone Cold or the new CM Punk. I know me and Troy have had this discussion on Twitter about it. And so I feel like there could be a lot of shenanigans with Stone Cold and Kevin Owens kind of just delivering a stunner party to all the McMahons. I could see a lot of interesting storylines going out here. And then obviously they have some returning people, like Ron Simmons is always great. Just see Poker, hear him go, damn, and make everyone smile.
Well, Parker and Nicole, what do you think about this?
I think it's super cool.
Do you know, you guys know much about the WWE?
No, I don't.
No, other than John Oliver's video on it on Last Week Tonight, like many, many weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, that happened. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Caleb, I know I talked to you about that. You should definitely watch it. That's going to be mentioned also later on in the...
I'm a big fan of Last Week Tonight, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have more wrestling to talk about in our special debate battle segment, which is going to be really fun. But first, Nicole, why don't you tell us what's going on with Michigan football?
We've got 1 minute for this segment. So, Nicole, make sure everything goes in quick.
Of course. So a couple of things about Jim Harbaugh before I get to the absolute obvious. So obviously he might play Shea Patterson and Dylan McCaffrey, which personally I love because I love Dylan McCaffrey as a quarterback. I think he's great. I just want to get that out of the way. And then he said a couple of comments last week. Big Ten Media Days was last week. And he said the first thing he said was he was a little wary of mental health on transfer waivers. He said that, maybe don't, like, you should be able to transfer one time with no penalty, but, like, if he wants, one, people shouldn't have to say why they want to transfer. Two, he's a little just wary of them putting mental health on it as a reason. But he came back and said something on his Twitter, but that's not the point I want to get to. Main point is what Jim Harbaugh said about Urban Meyer is fine. He was asked a question at Big Ten Media Days. What's Urban's legacy now that he's left the Big Ten? He'll be back coaching next year. But play move on. I don't know. But he said that he's a very good coach, very wins pretty much wherever he goes, but controversy also follows him wherever he goes. And people responded to this saying, oh, you're 0-4 against him. Like, you can't win. You shouldn't be able to say this about Urban Meyer. But he's not wrong, though. What did he say that was like, oh, we're so much better than them? Because obviously in football, at least, we're not. I'm going to start crying. But, what he said about Urban Meyer was true. People need to calm down. I'm a little scared about our Michigan's expectations to win the Big Ten. But calm down. What he said about Urban Meyer was fine. Go Blue. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a thing that was blown way out of proportions. And Urban Meyer, he has had a lot of controversy following him. And so I don't really think it's worth mentioning much and going on. So I think with that being said, Caleb, do you want to introduce us to the long-awaited for return of the debate battle segment?
Yes, and hopefully when Troy's answering, the lights don't go out. But we're going to figure out a way to do this anyways to keep the show going. So, yes, we are doing a head-to-head debate battle. It is going to be Troy versus Henry. Henry is 0-1 in debate battles.
I was on debate team in high school, by the way. So what? I think I already win. I was on debate team for 4 years in high school, so I think I already won.
Oh
I'm
yes,
calling
I
you
also
bragging.
I did debate in high school too, and I was voted most outstanding student my senior year. So
I
I wish I could
currently
do this.
have a petition filed for the last judging of the debate battle. So actually, I'm still 0-0 in my mind.
Well, that's not to worry
Let's
because
say
we're not
that.
going to have 1, 2,
0,
but
0,
3 judges here. Nicole and Parker are going to help me out on awarding points. So how this is going to work, and we're going to use proper debate rules. There's not going to be any cutting off or anything like that. You have 45 seconds to respond to each question, plus an additional 30 seconds, which is completely optional to rebuttal if you obviously disagree or want to defend your point. There are going to be 5 questions, and me.
And Caleb, Nicole, and Parker will be the judges.
Are we ready?
There he is.
Wait, what?
You kind of cut out for a little bit, so I just went and finished for you because the audience was not able to hear what you said. But yeah, so I guess round 1, fight.
Okay. All right. Should there be a rematch between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao? Obviously, a lot of people thought that the last fight was probably a waste of money.
I win.
And yeah, that lights out right there kind of describes the Floyd Pacquiao fight because
Well, you definitely called it.
But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts? It has to be divided, so one of you guys has to do an answer that you probably don't want to do. So who wants to go first?
Troy, you are the guest on our show. I will let you go first.
Well, okay. So are you timing me?
Yeah, hold on. So let me get out my timer. 45 seconds, go.
Well, I think on one hand, like financially, it makes sense because people are going to be suckered into watching it, especially if he, after Pacquiao won again. I just think that first fight, we don't have a lot of evidence to suggest the second one will be interesting. So I'm going to say no because I just think, the first fight was pretty historically, in my opinion, not that exciting and kind of disappointing. I don't think we have a lot of evidence the second one will be different. I think they will have a rematch because of that win and because of the money it'll make. I just don't think they should. I do not think it would be that interesting a fight or really do much.
Okay, time. Henry, what are your thoughts about this? Let me get my timer. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I am forced to say yes, that there should be a rematch. And you know what? Why not? It's going to make a bunch of money for everyone involved. The TV deals, I think it was the highest rated, I think it was the highest bought pay-per-view in all of history, which was later, I think, passed by the Conor McGregor fight. But, the Floyd Pacquiao fight was, it was interesting. And it is two of the greatest of all time at their respective sport, which is the same sport, and they're fighting. So while they do have different styles, I feel like a rematch will allow Pacquiao to get in a different type of offense that he might not have gotten. And so I feel like for money, it's a definite yes. And for the younger fans who have probably not seen these guys, I think it's also great.
Time. Your time is up. Okay. Before we get into possible rebuttals, Nicole and Parker, what did you guys think on those responses? And each of you individually can award points, so it can go either way.
Well, I'm with Troy on this. I think I didn't see much of the first fight. I don't watch fighting in general, but we really, other than Pacquiao's last win, which was good, obviously we haven't seen much evidence that this fight would be any different. So I'm with Troy on that.
Okay, Parker?
Yeah, and I agree also with Troy. I feel
Sorry, Henry.
Yeah. I feel like it would be entertaining. Always the hype is more entertaining than the fight, it seems. But the fight wouldn't end up being as much as everyone wanted it to be. So I agree with Troy. That's where my point is going.
Okay, so that's 2 points for Troy. So that makes it 2-0, thanks to Parker and Nicole. But let's get into rebuttals. 30 seconds, if optional. But yeah, who wants to go first in the rebuttals on defending your point?
I think I'm good. I thought I was going to take the contrarian point there by saying no, which is what I honestly think. I think it's a waste of time.
I think that we all kind of agree that they shouldn't, for I mean, again, there's a 40-year-old. These are two 40-year-old men who are fighting. A lot
But
of
let's face
people.
it, everyone just wants to see Floyd Mayweather lose. That's why
Yeah.
everyone wants to see this rematch.
But also
Now, in
I
that
do wanna
regard,
make
I'm
sure
with
that
them.
we point out for the debate battle, it's not whose side you agree on, it's what they're saying about it. Because we're gonna be kind of forced into a who chooses what. So for the judges, I just want to make sure to
I'm
plead my
still with Troy.
case
Yeah,
that it's whoever
We're not
debated the
changing
best.
anything.
It's not whoever had the viewpoint that you agree.
Henry, I'm still with Troy. You can talk about this all you want.
He's losing 2-0. He's a little desperate.
You can
Do we
come
want
back.
to do rebuttals, or do we want
I
to
do
move
not
on?
think there is a rebuttal for this.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
good.
let's move on to the next question. It is 2-0 for Troy. Next question is going to be, who would be your number one overall pick in the upcoming fantasy football season? Let's get your picks. And
Troy, I'll let you go first for this one again because I know you're not that familiar with football, and I am a reigning 4-time fantasy football champion. So
Hey, I won my league
record.
too, Henry. Slow
Yeah,
down.
I'm not huge on football outside of the Cardinals. Like I know the important people and the important teams, but mostly I just follow the Cardinals. Let me think here for a second. I think my pick probably would be Saquon Barkley because they talk about commitment to Eli Manning, and Eli Manning sucks now, and just like the Father Time has just passed him by. So I think if the Giants are going to do anything, like they're going to lean on Barkley so heavily, and he's really good, and I think he can be effective as the carrier of an offense. But I just think and on top of that, thinking like strategically for fantasy football, there are enough quarterbacks to where like you don't need a quarterback necessarily, but there are a few premium running backs in offenses that really need them, and I think he's one of them. And so I'd probably go with him just because I know for a fact that the Giants are going to need him, and I know for a fact that you want to try to pick up running backs fairly early in the draft because there are a few that are really impact players in the league anymore, and he's definitely one of them.
Okay. Henry, what do you have to say about this?
All right, I'm going to go with Ezekiel Elliott. He was the leader last year in fantasy points. He's only in his third year, so he obviously has still a lot of room to grow and a lot of points to go. He only played in 15 games last year and still was able to take the title for most fantasy points scored. And while I do agree with Troy that a running back is definitely the most important position for fantasy, that you want to take one early, I would like to point out that the Giants are probably going to be losing a lot of games. And so I feel like they're going to go away from the running game, which is going to hurt Saquon and his production because they're the Giants. They do have Eli Manning as their quarterback. And so I feel like a lot of late game, they'll be out of it, which will hurt his production. Whereas Ezekiel Elliott, the Cowboys have a very easy schedule. He's going to be racking up those touchdowns, racking up those yards. So I think Ezekiel Elliott is going to eat.
All right, that's time. I guess we'll go to Nicole first on points because she's very football knowledgeable. Nicole, what do you think on those responses?
Again, I'm going with Troy. Sorry, Henry. Yes, they might be losing in those late games. And, Eli Manning, his clutch gene is obviously pretty much gone. But that doesn't mean what he does earlier in the game won't surpass Ezekiel Elliott already, possibly. And I think, they're still tough defenses to go up against. I know the Cowboys have a relatively easy schedule, but they have a lot more weapons than just Ezekiel Elliott. There's a lot of places the ball could go. Amari Cooper, for example.
Name another one.
What?
Name another one.
Off the top of my head, I can't. But
They have no one.
I have thought about that, but I'll save that.
But my point is that Saquon is like pretty much it. That could help or hurt him, true, but I think he's going to get the ball a lot. He's a beast. I think, how do you not take him number one overall fantasy-wise?
Yeah, and so I was going, my own answer would be Saquon, but I will go with Henry for this point because,
Pity point.
Yeah, so I feel your arguments were able to sway me to Elliott. I was going to say Saquon because he's pretty much the only point of production on that offense other than like Eli and like Sterling Shepard and maybe Evan Ingram or anything. But I feel that Zeke Elliott, everything you said makes sense, and I also like your stats and stuff. That's what swayed me.
Okay.
That's how debate battle should be done.
So that makes the score. Troy is still in the lead by 2. It's Henry 1, Troy 3. So, and do we want to go into rebuttals before we can?
I was going to say on the point of I think Elliott would be a great choice too, but when you talk about what else do the Cowboys have, I think the big thing kind of against Elliott is that they have Dak, and he will, he's a pretty good quarterback. At least he has his great moments, and I think he'll get the ball to other guys. Whereas Eli is going to have to dump off so much to Barkley anyway that even if they had other talent, which now that Odell Beckham and all them are gone, they don't have a lot of. Saquon's going to get the ball a lot from Eli because Eli's going to find himself in trouble and just dump it off, and Barkley's going to have to get those yards, and that's how I think he'll keep up with Elliott.
That's time. Nicole, hopefully, I think you've controlled the barking that's going on.
No, they're still going.
Well, we'll just meet you until we have to come to you. Henry, you have 30 seconds if you want the rebuttal.
All right, I will choose the rebuttal. Get ready on the timer, Caleb.
Yep, go ahead.
You seem excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree, but I disagree because I think the Giants have a lot more weapons. I think Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, and don't forget now they have Golden Tate is a lot more than what the Cowboys have. The Cowboys have just Amari Cooper, and I mean, it was so bad that they had to bring back Jason Witten. That's how bad the Cowboys have been. And if you look at how they spread it out,
I think we bullied him out of retirement from the booth.
That's true.
I want to say that.
Sorry, what was that? I didn't hear what you said.
I think we bullied him out of retirement, out of the booth because he was so bad. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, restarting with 15 seconds, I guess, on the clock.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the other thing is the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is known for actually throwing a lot of short routes and checkdowns, and so especially if you're playing in PPR, Dak had one of the highest percentages of check down routes. So that means that Zeke's going to just be racking up those short passes and taking a lot of distance because they don't really have those other weapons. And because I feel like Dak's going to be feeling a lot of pressure to try and win these games.
No, I don't think we should award any points to Henry for going over time.
Well, that was kind of
I kind of did too, so fair enough.
Well, do we want to award any rebuttal points?
The man is against me.
No, I'll go with Henry on this one. His other than of what I could hear with the dogs not barking, sounded good. That's all I'll say.
Do we have to award a rebuttal point?
No, this is completely optional.
Okay. I feel like both arguments were good. I just don't feel like it added too much to the initial argument, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay, so it's Henry 2, Troy 3, as we go into the third question. Which NBA team has improved the most from this intense free agency period? And Henry, let's go to you first on this one.
All right. I think I'm going to go. I might go with the popular answer. I don't know, but I'm going to have to say the Los Angeles Clippers. A little bit biased to that team, but first of all, they got one of possibly the best player, Kawhi Leonard. And you already saw what Kawhi Leonard did for the Raptors last season. He's now going. They also added Paul George. They drafted some great players. They're going to have a lot of improvement from players such as Montrezl Harrell. It's just the Clippers. It's amazing what they have done. They got 3 huge players and went from a borderline 8 seed to a team that I think could possibly be the favorite to win the NBA championship this year.
Okay, time. Troy?
Man, I was going to say the Clippers, darn it. Well, I think, honestly, the options, despite a lot of free agency movement, I think the options on that are pretty thin. So I'm going to have to go with the Lakers on this one, even though I don't really enjoy saying that. I think Anthony Davis is a huge addition for them. I think he is a guy who really turns around the problems the Lakers had last season. Part of it was just LeBron James was vulnerable for the first time in his entire career. But on top of that, I think Anthony Davis just brings another powerhouse to that team. And when LeBron James has even one of those guys that he can work well with, I think there's evidence that teams like that are great teams. And then I feel like the additions they've made around the bench, I mean, they brought back Rajon Rondo and a couple other moves like that I'm not a huge fan of, but I think people are really sleeping on DeMarcus Cousins. I know his injury history makes it hard to believe in him, but I think he's going to be great. I think they've really made some improvements and built a team that's better constructed around LeBron James. And when you have a roster that has one or two good players and then just players who fit with LeBron, I still think we have tons of evidence that that's a great team in the making right there. So I think the Lakers are very much improved. I think they've made a lot of smart moves to build around the main guys they have. And I think that health permitting, they can make a gigantic jump from not a playoff team to a real threat to win the title.
All right. Troy went a little over on that, but that's okay. Nicole, or actually Parker, let's go to you first on those responses.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Henry. So that was my pick in the first place, the Clippers. I just think obviously the answer is good. I think that his argument was strong. They have now two of the top defenders in the whole league, and I just think it was a little bit stronger and more in depth than the Lakers. I mean, I think the Lakers are definitely going to be a strong team as well. I just don't know if having just two superstars and not a super strong supporting cast will work as well as the Clippers will.
So let's think Henry is back into it. Nicole, what do you think about this?
And he's back out because I'm actually going to go with Troy on this one because
Wow.
it pains me to say that the Lakers might have actually become contenders just as much as I think it pained him to even say that. But I mean, his argument around just building two guys around LeBron James, we have evidence that has worked before. And when we think back to the Miami Heat, out of Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, who are the other guys you can say were on that starting five with LeBron James? I mean, I'm not the biggest basketball fan, so personally I can't. But, I mean, I don't think many people could either. So I think...
Can we go to the rebuttal? Because I am licking my chops right now.
Well, okay. But I think his answer was good, and I hate that the Lakers are contenders, but I'll get over myself. No, I won't, but whatever.
Okay. Scores 4-3. Troy leads. Henry, you better have a good rebuttal.
I'll let him go first, because I probably have a rebuttal to his rebuttal.
Yeah, my rebuttal is, first of all, starting with that team. The Miami Heat had a bunch of other players. They had Mario Chalmers coming out of Kansas, who was absolutely amazing. They had Ray Allen, who hit possibly the greatest shot of NBA history. Like, how do you forget about Ray Allen? They had Birdman on the bench. They had some other great players who were young. They had Udonis Haslem, who is still a great player. They had Mike Bibby, too. So that team is insane. And if you're looking at the Clippers, they do have a great bench. They have the reigning sixth man of the year, Lou Williams. They have Patrick Beverly, Landry Shumate, who is possibly a contender for Rookie of the Year.
All right. That's it.
How come you stop me, but not him when he goes over?
I will.
I just want to point this out, Troy. I think you're a little bit biased here.
No. That was just the rebuttal.
Yeah, I thought he was going to stop me. I can't really hear the timer, so I thought he was going to stop me when I went over. So I just kept going until he did.
I mean, he's supposed to, but I think Troy's showing a little bit of bias. I mean, I think Caleb's showing a little bias here.
Also, I'm offended that you forgot to mention Shane Battier with those Heat teams because he was like LeBron's best friend. He did all the hard work for LeBron. Anyway, I think.
But that Heat team was absolutely insane. I am a Miami Heat fan, so I have to say it was more than those three players. It upsets me when people say it was just those three players.
No, and that's why I think the Lakers. That's why I think the Lakers have a great chance to improve because, Danny Green, Avery Bradley, all these guys that they signed you basically need two things. Play decent defense, be able to shoot, at least kind of. They have a lot of guys who fit that criteria now. And I think that's a real sign of what a great team, what a team that LeBron James can lead to a very strong position and a very good record looks like. And I think we've seen that with his teams in Miami and in Cleveland. And so I just look at the Lakers and I say, hey, the Lakers have a chance to really make a bigger stride than the Clippers do because the Clippers added two great players.
That's it. So concluding this question, Nicole and Parker, what do we think?
I mean, Henry makes good points. I'm sorry I didn't know about the whole Miami Heat team. I'm more upset I forgot about Ray Allen than anybody else.
Yeah, how do you forget about Ray Allen? You said that and I'm like...
Hey, sorry, that was so long ago too. But
2013.
Still a long time ago.
Can you imagine if Hassan Whiteside had been good when they had those three? That would have been insane.
Hassan Whiteside was on the Kings then. They had Hassan Whiteside, Isaiah Thomas, DeMarcus Cousins.
But
They
okay,
had
but there was
4
one.
All-Stars on their team.
Yeah. Point being,
And
Hassan on
there's-
that team, what he
there's
was
one
with Miami
thing
would have been great.
There was one thing that Troy said was that, you know, the Clippers added 2 great players. The Lakers added 2 great players, and then a lot of other smaller guys. I mean, the Clippers really only added what feels like 2 superstars. So it was when he said that, I was kind of on his side, and I hate that.
So you're favoring Troy on this one.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
are you adding any extra points, or is you just keeping with what the original?
No, I'm just keeping with the original.
Fair
All
enough.
right, so no added points on that one then.
Yeah,
Parker?
What about you?
I'm keeping with the original.
All right,
Moving
moving on.
Anything to sway me.
Second to last question, and this one will be able to properly judge on debate argument wise because none of you guys really know the topic except for Henry and Troy. Will AEW Wrestling, which has become like the new version of
Actually,
WCW,
Caleb, let's move this to the last question because this I think will be the best question.
I agree.
fine. We'll skip this one. I cannot wait because this other question is also wrestling oriented. What would be your biggest WWE dream match? So a current WWE superstar versus a past legend or Hall of Famer since the reunion shows tonight. So who wants to go first?
Oh God, there are so many of those.
So I guess we'll let Henry go first then.
No,
If
Troy.
Troy, then
All right.
Troy has to go first.
All right, I have to go first. Wait,
Yeah.
fielding question
Yes.
because you'll understand what this means. Does NXT count?
Yes.
Yes. We'll take
Okay,
it.
NXT does count.
Yes.
Okay, in that case, off the top of my head, actually it doesn't matter.
I don't
I'm gonna
think that,
say my dream match is Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles. I think Shawn Michaels especially is like the most physically talented guy ever. He's not like the biggest or the strongest, but no one has, no one's more creative. No one's better at timing. No one's better, no one has better awareness. No one is better at telling a story. And then AJ Styles, I think he's so good because he's basically just like he's adaptable to anyone, to any style, to anything. And I think throughout his entire career, he's proved that basically he can play along with anything. And I think those two together would be physically amazing. I think they tell a fantastic story. And most importantly, I think it's a match that has a lot of like historical meaning. I mean, both of these guys are idolized as some of the great performers of their
All right,
generations.
That's it. Henry, we go to you next.
I would just like to
what's
say
gonna
I
be-
would definitely pay for a ticket to that match. Just immediately going to say that there. I'm giving you props. That was a great answer.
Yeah, there are a ton of good answers. It's really hard to have a bad answer to this
Yeah.
question.
And I know I've got a doozy of an answer.
Go ahead.
Oh boy.
I'm going to say Rey Mysterio versus Ricky the Steamboat Dragon. We are talking 2 of the best, the greatest little mans. Like, Rey Mysterio is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. You've got countries against each other. You've got the Pride of Mexico. You've got Ricky Steamboat, like, who is one of the most beloved figures. Like, both of these 2 wrestlers are probably the most over people in all of WWE history. They've got everything from the flashy moveset to just lovable characters. They're baby faces that you can both get behind, and both can look valiant in losing and in winning. And so I feel like that matchup would just be so energetic, so enjoyable, and no matter what happens, you walk away feeling good, feeling like I just saw something that was amazing, and
All right,
there's
time.
no losers there.
That's it.
Man, I forgot about Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah,
He
people
did
do.
what-
And people do.
Gosh, Nicole or Parker,
He is fairly underrated.
who do we want to award points to?
So I'm gonna say that I'm not 100% sure of either side yet. So I'm gonna wait until the rebuttals are done because I'm like kind of 50-50 right now. I don't really know. So we'll
That's
see.
acceptable.
Okay, Nicole.
Yeah, can we wait for after rebuttals for this
Yeah.
one? 'Cause-
All right. Wait, I'll judge on this one then. I'll give a point since I know a lot about this topic. Wait, Henry, what's your answer again? Just to make sure.
Rey Mysterio versus Ricky the Steamboat Dragon.
So Ricky the Steamboat Dragon versus who?
Rey Mysterio.
And then Troy, what was yours?
AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels.
Okay, so what was it like? Ricky Steamboat. I feel like it's like kind of the same thing. The reimagining of the storyline between was it like Rusev? Like every time he'd play face a USA opponent. I feel like it's more like that, like a countrywide battle. But AJ Styles, that match would be like more of their same styles of wrestling. They're both pretty hardcore. So I feel like wait, what?
I don't think either of those two guys are what I would call hardcore.
Why not?
I think because hardcore is like, it has a very specific meaning of like barbed wire chairs and that kind of nonsense.
Mick Foley.
Yeah, like ECW kind of thing.
ECW, yeah, I'd love to see like ECW rules on that. But I'll have to give it to Henry on this one. So just on overall point. Rebuttals though. Let's
My first or is he first?
You're first, because you went first for the last one.
All right, so I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a cool match. I think the difference between those two is those two both played, I think, somewhat similar kinds of characters. Obviously, they're very different personalities. They come from very different backgrounds. I think an AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels match leaves a lot more room for like a deeper story and emotional tie-in. Because I think when you take guys like Steamboat and Rey Mysterio and you put them together, you kind of have the thing where it's like, oh, they're just like two guys who respect each other, kind of having a sparring match. Where I feel as like Styles and Michaels, that actually has like heat. You can actually build something around like a generational battle and like who's the best ever.
Who would be the heel in that match and who would be the face?
Either. They both do both. Historically, they've both been both.
Henry?
One's one right now.
You have 30 seconds. You better make this count.
All right. So here's what I'm going to say. I think that you could definitely put a story behind it. Especially the pride of the two countries is kind of the angle I would go with. You have Rey Mysterio Jr., who is probably the most beloved figure in all of Mexican wrestling history, aside from maybe Eddie Guerrero, who is so connected with him, and Ricky the Steamboat Dragon, who is Asia's son. Like, these, you can have which country is better. Like, who has the history? Who has the biggest heart? I feel like if you put an Iron Man stipulation to that, it's going to be who's the one who's not willing to quit on the other one. And I feel like that's one of those matches that can end in a double like count out. And everyone would still love it because none of them are going to give up.
Okay. You could have also said last man standing match too. Yeah. That would have been pretty good.
I don't agree with that because like a last man standing match, you have to have people who want to kill each other.
True.
And I think like at the root and like I think you made a good point there, Henry, definitely. But I think at the root of a Mysterio Steamboat match wouldn't be like a desire to leave the other one dead. You know?
No, it would be a desire to be the last, to be the best.
Yeah, but that's why I think Iron Man works better than something like Last Man Standing. Like Iron Man is about like endurance. It's not about like violence.
Iron Man though, right?
Yeah, I was kind of responding to Caleb.
Nicole and Parker. I mean, one of you has to at least award a point. But yeah, what's it gonna be?
Parker, you first.
I was gonna say you first. I started.
You're
you could go with
You know, debated better. Troy, that's all you need to judge on.
Would you be okay with going, if they don't know, doing a split decision? Because then Caleb awarded a point to me. So then we're tied going into the final question.
No,
but they also do not know they know nothing about the next question. Like we're gonna run into the same problem.
Like I think I'll be able to answer or decide better on the next one because it's more of a sort of a business standpoint,
That's
I guess.
Fair.
Whereas
That's
this one was like. It was like details to things I didn't really know.
That's
so
WWE book both those matches for real, please.
That's a fair point.
But
they both
we're gonna do a split decision. We'll make it a tie.
Work?
Yeah, he did a match with Chris Jericho. I think he's still alive. Let me look it up.
I bet he's still alive. I'm not sure he's in working shape anymore.
So
but you never know with these guys.
So no points.
No, he was in WrestleMania. Like, no, he was on WrestleMania a few years ago. He was born. Oh, that's Richie Steamboat.
The kids.
All right. Well, we'll move into the next question. No points awarded, and it is tied up going into the fifth and final question.
We should decide by coin flip who gets to go first on this one.
Coin flip?
Or something like I feel like it's like there's a harder to argue side to this than another, but we'll see what happens.
All right, so going into the next question, it has to do, it's not exactly like a repeat of history when it comes to the Monday Night Wars, but will AEW, which is becoming what we're seeing as the new possible WCW, kind of doing what TNA couldn't do and as compete with WWE, They are a new wrestling company that's becoming big. Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho is involved. And obviously, the biggest thing that happened is that they have a new TV deal that will officially launch in fall. And of
TNT
course,
on Wednesdays.
yeah, they are going to be on TNT, which hosted
Cowards.
they hosted WCW Monday Nitro, which became a huge competitor to Monday Night Raw. Obviously, they shut down as WWE took them out of business. Will AEW do what WCW and TNA couldn't? Are they a big threat to the WWE this fall? And do we want to do a coin flip on who goes first?
You know what? I think we have to settle this with an old-fashioned Rochambeau.
As you wish.
Fine.
2 out of 3. The first
Right.
ever rock, paper, scissors match held on Blaze Radio.
This is
All
going
right.
to be
Are
entertaining.
you sure about that?
Trust me. It's very important because one position is much easier to argue than the other. Trust me on this.
Okay, Henry, you say it then.
You know, I'm pretty confident in both, so I just want to see where this is going.
All right. And
No
rock-
says, just rock, paper, scissors, shoot. 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Right.
Rock.
What?
Paper. I can't say
Scissors.
I'll just say 1, 2, 3, and then when I say shoot, you do it.
Yeah.
All right? 1, 2, 3, shoot. You guys both did paper.
All right.
All right, 1, 2, 3, shoot. Oh, rock, paper, paper. Troy goes
One.
first.
No, it's 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Oh, come on. 1, 2, 3, shoot. I can't see Troy's.
Yeah, Troy, hold it up
Oh.
higher.
It's-
They both
They
scissors.
both did scissors. All right, 1, 2, 3, shoot.
Ooh.
Ooh, it's
Ooh,
1 to
here
1.
we go.
All right, this is it. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Is that scissors?
Oh.
Are we holding it up?
Yeah, scissors.
All right, Troy goes first.
All right, I go first.
Go
I'm
ahead.
I'm
gonna.
confident in both answers. I'm
Okay.
a debater. I
Okay,
got
that's good.
this.
That's good. I'm gonna say no. They are not gonna be real competition, and the biggest reason there are two reasons I say that. Number one, they are trying to appeal to a very hardcore kind of old school audience that has a very specific view of what wrestling should be, whereas WWE appeals to a very wide audience, and that's why they have still some million TV viewers to this day. And number two, AEW is already making the same mistake TNA did back in the day, where they're bringing in a lot of old WWE guys. They're talking about WWE like they're building themselves up specifically as a competitor. And with TNA, that just didn't work because they spent so much time focusing on beating WWE. They didn't really focus on why you should tune into their product, what made their product stand out. And I feel like even though I've enjoyed AEW so far, they have had a hard time letting their product stand out and not be compared to WWE.
All right, time.
I'll
Henry,
wait till I can go turn on. But
Yeah.
I'll
So,
wait. The
go ahead.
anticipation.
45
I need to
seconds.
make a tag. I need to make a hot tag. Judy, tag in.
What is going on?
This is crazy.
All right.
Go
Uh,
ahead, Henry.
My tag team partner here, so she is going to do the answer. I did a hot tag while you were doing the lights.
a hot tag.
So, are you ready? Are you ready, Caleb? Because this is going to be a
45
doozy.
Go ahead.
I think that they are very different than TNA. First of all, TNA was spending so much money on these old guys like Hulk Hogan, these really like out of shape guys like Randy Savage, and they weren't building up new stars. AEW is specifically building up new stars. They're having very interesting storylines with people such as Sean Spears, who is Ty Dillinger, Perfect 10. I know Caleb, a favorite of his. And they're doing a lot of new things. Second of all, they have the position to do so much with leverage. They're bringing these people like Moxley, possibly going to bring in Sasha Banks, all these people who weren't used in WWE. And as John Oliver said, if they give these WWE superstars health care, if they treat them as employees instead of as independent contractors, they
All
can
right, time.
make the best of talents from WWE.
That's time. Nicole and Parker, who wants to go first on awarding points?
Parker does.
Yeah. Okay. So currently, I'm slightly leaning towards Henry, so that's where my point is going for now. But there's still rebuttals, so that's like a very slight advantage.
Yeah, you have to award your point now. We're gonna do
Yeah, yeah.
rebuttals later.
I just think the things you said about the thing that got me was treating them more as employee, or whatever you said, more as employees than as people with the healthcare and stuff.
Yes, employees rather than putting them as they're called independent contractors with WWE. So that way they can get healthcare. It's extremely
Benefits,
huge
so.
for morale and getting people to resign.
Yeah,
And that's very important because WWE is a very dangerous sport.
Yeah, I think that's important because it can bring those stars that people already love and follow over to that side. So that's why I'm right just on your side, just barely.
So that was my question. So I know like WWE, they don't have like those benefits per se. So in AEW, sorry, would they have those then?
They are pushing towards it.
They are saying they plan to. They haven't actually done it. They have said that that's something that they want to do.
It's all going to depend on when the TV deal comes, but right now it is looking like it will be a yes.
Well, okay. As far as TV deals go, don't they have one with TNT?
It's not active till
October, yeah.
October.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I do want to mention this. WWE is going to have a new TV deal at Fox around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Just a fun fact, though. But keep going, Nicole.
I'm going to keep making jokes about how AEW are cowards.
Go ahead.
Okay, so that part of that makes it a little harder because I was slightly on Henry's side, but now that Troy says that, these aren't confirmed, that makes it a little bit, I'm kind of right in the middle again with this because, Henry, you made really good points, but also, like, it makes me think of, like, the NFL and the AAF. Not the exact same, obviously, but just a little bit.
We'll see. They have to prove they're not the AAF.
Because the AAF,
like right now, Troy, would you agree that right now they are going to do something about the healthcare? Like,
personally,
I remain
because I have a rebuttal related to it.
Okay.
Whether or not I think they'll do it is a different thing than what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I relate it to the AAF is because, it was like, oh, we're partnered with the NFL. We're on CBS. We're on NFL Network. We have former players, a lot of former NFL players on there. A guy who learned how to throw a football from YouTube. So it's like, it just reminds me of that in that sense. So that it puts me right back in the middle. So let's just go to rebuttals.
So no points then. So
we really have only 30 seconds. Dang it.
Yeah. So 5. It's
what? Last round, Caleb. Are you okay with extending it to a minute?
A minute?
Or 45 seconds. Troy, how much do you need?
I could do with 45 seconds or a minute. I could probably fit into 30, but I think for this,
how about 50 seconds?
That's fine.
50 seconds it is. And since the rule change, we'll let Troy go first.
All right. So I don't think it's really bringing in new talent. Chris Jericho's 48, and his big finishing maneuver is like a spinning elbow, which I did in karate at 9 years old. And meanwhile, Spears and MJF and all these other younger guys are in a meaningless tag match. So I don't think they're really building stars like that. And to the point of the healthcare, regardless of whether or not it's a good moral idea for them, I don't think it necessarily means they are competition, because people, I don't think, care about that as much as we feel like maybe they should. The viewing audience hasn't made a big deal about that really in 25 years. That's what John Oliver talked about. And I think on top of that, a lot of people seem to want to leave, but then a lot of them re-sign these 5-year deals when WWE has given them a raise or has given them a longer term contract.
Right,
and so I think the evidence suggests they're not really getting those guys.
Okay. Henry, you have 50 seconds. Do not try to go over, but good luck.
All right. So my rebuttal is that the guys who are re-signing are these older guys. These are these people like Maria, Mike Kanellis, the Bullet Club. These are these older guys, the younger guys, the more exciting guys, the Revival, often seen as the best tag team on the planet. They have not signed the deals. They will not sign the deals because they want to go to AEW. The younger people, the actual wrestlers, do care about the healthcare. That's one of the reasons why Jon Moxley went. That's why CM Punk left, and he was in that John Oliver special. He mentioned how important that healthcare was. I don't remember the thing, but they're like, oh, just have a Z-Pack. That was one of the things that made CM Punk hate wrestling. And that's why, and WWE's scared. That's why the networks are pushing for these specials, because AEW is a competition. That's why they're trying to make NXT a network show. WWE's doing all these things. They're changing the demographics.
All right, time.
They are scared because they are competition.
Okay, that was pretty good. I like that.
I know I've made this joke 3 times. I'm going to make another cowards joke about AEW, just off his point about NXT.
They're trying to put NXT for the same day, though.
But yeah, by the way, for you two, the reason I'm calling them cowards as a joke is because they're running on Wednesday when WWE's developmental show runs, whereas with the older shows, they ran on the same night as Monday Night Raw. So I make jokes. They want to be competition, but they're cowards because they won't run on Mondays. It's a joke.
The developmental shows are by far the best shows of WWE.
Yes, in many people, the developmental brand is better than the real one.
Yes,
that's
so
also
they're actually going against the better competition by going on Wednesdays.
I just think it's funny that they won't run against Raw. Jokes, Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, I'm happier as a viewer because then there's wrestling like 5 days a week.
That's true.
Okay, Parker and Nicole, what's it gonna be?
Nicole can go first.
And wait, just to clarify, it's a tie score, right?
No,
no, he gave his point.
I gave my point to
He
Henry.
gave a first point to Henry barely.
So 5-4. All right, Parker, go ahead.
No, Nicole can go first.
Okay, I just want to clarify one quick thing. So Henry, these fighters, are they? I wasn't exactly sure what you said. Young fighters are signing on, or older fighters are signing on?
So right now, the older fighters are re-signing with WWE. Like he was saying, so the younger ones are, what they're doing is they're opting out or they're holding out for their contracts to expire. Like I think the Revival have done that. They just had, oh my God, who's the 205 Live guy who just did it? They have a lot of their
Well, Tommy's like 37 or something, if that's who you're talking about.
What?
Are you talking about Hideo Itami? Because he's like 37 or something.
No, there was someone else, but yeah, like the Revival are waiting. Sasha Banks, she's waiting.
He's not going there, but I see your point.
Like, and again, John Moxley, who is Dean Ambrose, as you guys might know, Ty Dillinger. These are the young guys. The only people who are signing are the guys who are 50 years old, 40 years old, like Luke Gallows, AJ Styles. Like, they're the guys who have families and who, like, Shinsuke Nakamura. But, like, the younger people, like Rusev, they're leaving. The younger, the new guy, the up-and-coming guys are leaving.
Okay. I think then answering the question, will AEW Wrestling be a big threat to WWE? I'm going to go with Henry on this and say yes, because they're going up on Wednesday night. They're getting some of these young and upcoming fighters to at least draw back from WWE, which obviously hurts. So I think in that respect, I'm going to go with Henry.
6-4, Henry. Parker, let's go to you next.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. I was thinking more in the standpoint of, will it like end up being the WWE's demise, which is not really what it is asking. So like I agree, Henry.
It will not be WWE's demise.
Yeah, nothing really will at this point. But,
that is true.
I do think that it can.
Living to 1,000 is the only thing that will be WWE's demise.
Yeah. I think it's the only thing. I think it can definitely be competition, and I agree, Henry. I would have you as my point.
Okay, so 7-4.
What about you?
What about me?
It doesn't matter, but
I want to hear his.
I mean, I do agree. Like AEW's kind of recycling a bunch of WWE superstars that are not really being used. But hey, why not? Because WWE only has so much space when it comes to like what they do on their shows. Like, was it Raw and SmackDown? No, Raw is 3 hours. SmackDown is still only 2.
They're going to make NXT probably. They're going to extend it to 2 hours.
Which is NXT. It's
they're going to ruin it.
NXT is on WWE Network. If they go to a broadcast network, where would they go? I don't think they would go to USA Network.
They'd go to FS1.
Yep.
Oh, FS1. Okay, I can see that.
I mean, that like maybe not, but that's what's been assumed for years now, is that they would go to FS1. For kind of the same reason that they like put AEW on TNT. It's just a way to fill time in the weekday with something that people something that's, if you don't think it's a sport, at least like sports equivalent.
Okay.
It's kind of the same thing with TNT and AEW. Like that's.
I don't know. I mean, I would probably favor judging off the whole debate on just this question. I would say kind of favor Troy's point on AEW isn't really a big threat because what is it? Jeff Jarrett tried to do this thing with Global Force Wrestling, tried to do the same exact route. That didn't work out, obviously. They tried the merger with TNA. It was just a huge disaster. AEW, they definitely have some good staff. I'd say Chris Jericho, like I said, is also helped leading this.
I mean, their tag team division is going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
The Young Bucks, the Revival are definitely going. Like,
I feel like this is definitely kind of like an extension. What?
We'll see. I think the Revival are going. Probably.
I would be shocked if the Revival.
I also was shocked Kanellis re-signed because he thinks he's good, and he's fine. He thinks he's like hot stuff though.
They're making $1 million each.
Yeah, that's true. And the Revival apparently.
He's the person I think is going to get buried tonight. I think DX comes, buries them, and then there's some like weird thing where like Sacco is actually the dad.
Oh gosh. All right, let's move on. That will do it for the debate battle. Of course, Henry wins it 7-5. Henry is now 1-1 in debate battles. But let's move on to our final segment as we close out the show, and that is our pop culture comparisons. Kind of our way of mixing in a little bit of pop culture news with the sports world. And of course, this past weekend, which I just got back in town from, Comic-Con International in San Diego. Basically, people call it Nerdy Gras because it was so much fun.
That's great.
DC, Sony, and all those big movie companies didn't really show up. The Cats trailer is probably far one of the worst things that happened at Comic-Con this year.
Oh my god.
I've heard so much about that.
Cats do not know it's horrible. But the biggest announcement, which kind of earned the title of Comic-Con 2019, Marvel announcing their Phase 4 slate of movies and TV shows for their upcoming Disney Plus streaming service that they're partnering with Disney on. So, which upcoming Marvel Phase 4 movie or TV show would you compare to a sports team, player, or coach? Troy, it's a little bit of a hard. You're new to this, so we'll let you go last.
I can go first for this, or Parker can go first because he wants to.
He wants to go first, and I'm sure you guys all know about the Phase 4 movies and TV shows, right?
Of course.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Yeah, so I'll go first. Okay, so hear me out on this. I have Victor Oladipo and Black Widow. Okay, let me explain. So, Black Widow, she's always been a part of the group, never really had her own chance to have her own thing, but now she has the Black Widow movie. Whereas Victor Oladipo, he was kind of in the shadow of Russell Westbrook and kind of just a part of the Thunder. And then now he's on the Pacers, yeah. And he was doing good. He had his own shining moment, and he was a leader of the team.
Avengers Endgame spoilers.
To avoid any Endgame spoilers, let's just say that they both had a season-ending injury.
If you haven't seen Endgame by now, you're probably not going to.
Yeah, both had season-ending injuries, and
they did.
This will be a comeback hopefully for them. Even though it's prequel, but you know.
Widow. Wait, is Black Widow's season-ending injury death?
Yes. Yes.
If you haven't seen Endgame by now, you're not going.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Black Widow and Iron Man die. Sorry.
All right, Endgame spoilers. Yes. Nicole, why don't you go next?
Actually, Henry, why don't you take this? I'm still.
All right, I'm gonna go with something that I know won't take away from anyone. Me and Caleb have talked about this. I'm gonna try and go with a kind of weird Marvel movie, but Blade. We were talking about the main characters of Blade, and I just learned that Wesley Snipes is now being replaced by Mahershala Ali. And so that's the Green Bay Packers. They just replaced Brett Favre with Aaron Rodgers. Like, you just took two of the greatest actors, in my opinion. Like, Wesley Snipes, absolute all-star of actors. And now Mahershala Ali, like, mwah. Kudos to you, Marvel. If you've got one thing, it is how to cast Blade. And so,
cast anything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I was going to do that answer, too, as that was the one that told Henry that Ali was taking over the role of Blade. Now I need more time to focus my answer. But, Nicole.
You know that we were talking on Twitter about that.
I have been I've been going through my head on so many options. Someone else please go because I'm still thinking.
I have one.
Troy, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna say, so the Eternals, right?
Yes.
Greg Popovich.
Don't honestly. Well, that's it, like if you read it literally, yeah, that's a good one. But I was thinking like, it's kind of unknown. Like I'm not a super big comic guy, but I'm like so. But the cast and just like kind of the way that they presented it, like it's all there. And I think someone who we're all kind of waiting to see, but all the right things are there, is Zion Williamson.
Okay.
So I'm saying the same kind of thing. Just like that cast, like it looks great on paper. We'll see what Zion Williamson looks like when he gets to the NBA, but it looks like all the pieces are there for, something awesome.
Okay. Nicole, do you want to go next? Or I'm fine with going.
Yeah,
I got my answer. Okay, so we've been waiting for this for a while. I'm gonna say Loki and also Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings are the Seattle Supersonics. The Sonics, unfortunately, were basically robbed from Oklahoma City. There's a whole documentary called Sonicsgate. Definitely recommend check that out because it is really good. But yeah, Loki and Shang-Chi, these are projects that we've seen Marvel has been trying to push for a while. It's never happened. Now it's finally going to happen. Phase 4, obviously we're going to wait a little while, but it's finally going to happen. They got everything set. So yeah, and not only that, Seattle's building a new arena set for the NHL team. Why not bring back the Sonics? This is the perfect time to do it, just like Loki and Shang-Chi are finally coming into the Marvel universe. So what do you guys think of that answer?
Aquafina's in the MCU, and I could not be more excited about that.
Oh yeah.
I think
Nicole, why don't you go next?
All right, actually, this kind of I thought Troy was gonna say it. I'm really glad he didn't go down this route because this kind of gave me this idea. But I'm going with the Eternals again because I'm a comic fan. I'm a nerd. I'm a huge geek, but I still haven't read all the comics. Like I haven't read the Eternals. And I feel like that's a majority of people too. So I'm going with the Eternals. The cast looks good. We still don't really know. Everything could turn out great, but it also, who knows? It could not. I'm relating that to the Cleveland Browns.
That's all right.
The cast looks good. Every player, every cast member on there is good. Is a stud, a baller. But
I would say Eternals would be more like the upcoming Brooklyn Nets, but
maybe
I like Nicole's answer. I like where she's
No,
going.
I like that answer too because the Nets, like, we won't be able to fairly evaluate them. Like,
Right.
Yeah. No, Nicole, keep going. I'm liking your answer.
because this is why I'm so glad he didn't go down this route. Because the cast looks great. Angelina Jolie is the one that comes to my mind who's in it, and you have Baker Mayfield, Duke Johnson, I think, or Nick Chubb. Sorry, Nick Chubb.
Both.
Both.
Kareem Hunt.
One of them yet? Nick Chubb.
OBJ.
OBJ.
Jarvis Landry.
David Njoku. I don't know why I'm blanking. Myles Garrett on defense. Like on paper, this is such...
Cornerback. Duh.
Oh,
Greedy.
Denzel Ward. I don't know why I'm blanking, but on paper, this looks like such a good team. People are saying like, "Oh, Super Bowl! Like this could be it for Cleveland." They could go 6-10. I don't think they will, but the Eternals. The cast looks great. I think it will be good. I'm not saying either of these will be bad.
Be the new Electra movie.
But we still don't know. There's just so much unknown until we actually see it. So that's my answer.
I'm surprised no one went for Hawkeye. What about X-Men: The Fantastic Four? Because they're also coming too. We just don't know exactly when. I have a feeling Marvel's going to wait.
Yeah. We're picking from Phase 4, I assume.
Hawkeye for me would be the Clippers. It's a team that I want to be good for so long, and they haven't. And now they're finally having their chance to shine.
That's a good one.
See,
Make Hawkeye happen.
I was trying to relate something to Hawkeye. That's why I kept thinking about my answer until Troy said the Eternals. And I was like, oh, you better not say it. But I was trying to relate something to Hawkeye. I really like Hawkeye.
Because they're like two best friends that, I don't know if you guys have seen the rift between Sebastian Stan and, oh my God, I'm totally blanking out.
Mackie?
Yeah,
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie. They are absolutely hilarious.
I'm
like,
so excited for that
the
show.
interview stuff, what they do, like where they'll literally make up a story for like all these interviews, and like they try and do these things where they'll say a name, I forgot what the name was, and then they're like, my friend this says, and then they try and say the most generic hippie BS they possibly can, and wait for anyone to call them out. It's like they're so funny together, and so I honestly cannot wait for that to happen. And so, like, I don't even know what that would be, but just imagine the two like funniest players combined.
No,
So,
I was
JaVale McGee and Lance Stevenson as a team.
Oh my god! I mean, that happened.
I know. There's not that much antics though. Made me sad. And
Yeah. Yeah, LeBron runs a tight ship.
Well, that pretty much does it. We're unfortunately out of time. Troy, thanks for coming on. It was definitely fun having you. So
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to have you on future episodes. But yeah, that's gonna do it. For Henry, Nicole, Parker, and Troy, I'm Caleb Bouchy saying goodbye for now. We'll see you back here next week, hopefully on time at 12 p.m. on Blaze Radio. But until then, we'll see you then.
This has been AZ Sports Box. Make sure to recycle, throw out, and like
reduce, reuse, recycle.
composting, guys. Remember to
compost. We'll see you next week.